Hello, Lee Thurburn again, and in this video I'm going to show you how to set up the previous year, end of year balances on both the balance sheet and the income statement for your business so that you can begin using the system with the current year or whatever subsequent year you want to immediately. So in this case, I've got two different screens open because I'm going to use two different websites or two different accounts on the same system. What you probably are going to do is have some sort of a printout of your balance sheet and income statement from the prior year. In my case, I'm just going to use an online report. So on the left side menu, you're going to see reports. I'm going to go to reports and I'm going to start with the balance sheet. Now, first, I need to pull up a balance sheet for the appropriate year. So I'm going to click on Filter. And now I'm going to pick the end of the year. So I'll pick December 31st. And you'll notice it says 2024. I'm going to plug in 23. And I'm going to apply the filter. And so what will happen is the system will now pull up the date. This is everything up to January 1 of 2024. So that's through December 31 of 2023. And I'm going to make this a little bit larger so that it's actually, I can't make it larger because it kind of skews the size of the page. So now I'm going to just scroll up and here we see all of our assets and our liabilities and our equity. And we're now going to go ahead and input that information to the account on the right side, which is the one that we just set up, the demo account that we just set up. So I'm going to go to the Admin tab and use the General Journal. Now, the General Journal is going to give you a pop-up screen that you can input information into. And so I'm going to use the date 12/31/2023. And then you can give it a reference number. So I'm just going to use JE for journal entry 12/31/23A. And now I'm going to go ahead and start selecting the accounts and putting information in. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the bank account value of 7410. So I'm going to click Assets, drill down to Short Term, drill down to Bank Accounts, and then if you have multiple bank accounts, pick the one that we're talking about. In this case, Comerica 1234. Okay, so I'm going to put the dollar amount, 7410, and I'm going to make a description of setup 12/31/24 balances. Okay, so real simple, and I'm going to click Add Entry. And now you're going to see that the debits and the credits, this is the entry down here. The debits and the credits are off, but that's going to change over time. So the next thing I'm going to do is input vehicles. Now, we're not going to put the detail of each vehicle. This is just the total. I'll show you on another video how to separate those out. But we're going to go ahead and choose Assets, Long-Term, Vehicles, and in this case, I'm going to put everything into unassigned, and later we'll assign the balances out to individual vehicles. The total amount is 71,794.44. So we'll type that in, hit Enter, and now we're going to move down. There are no liabilities, so we're just going to be dealing with equity. So I'm going to select Equity as the account, and paid in capital. You can have different account names. You can actually rename these accounts, but we're going to be starting with paid in capital, and in this case there'll be 20,000, but I'm going to be putting that as a credit. Okay, so I'm going to stop for just a second, and I'm going to pull up a page that I created for you to have as a sort of a cheat sheet. This is debits and credits simplified. When you're putting in values, debits and credits, this is double entry bookkeeping. For example, if you make a deposit in a bank, that is going to be an increase, it's a debit, to the bank account, which is an asset. It also, at that same point in time, probably came from income, so you would have the corresponding other side of the entry would be to an income account, which would be an increase. So you're increasing an asset and you're increasing an income account. This is a great little cheat sheet for you to be able to use so that you know how debits and credits work with each other. The Apricot, or not the Apricot, but the CarFleetTools system is actually a very powerful, full-featured accounting system, but which allows you to do pretty much anything you want to with debits and credits. But I have simplified it specifically for Turo Hosts, so that you don't have to really understand double entry accounting. But you might take a screenshot of this and print it out, because I think you'll find this to be a helpful tool as you go through the process of using the system. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and go back and to where we were, and I'm going to go ahead and select equity. Now we've already put in paid in capital, so now we need to add an account for distributions, and there isn't one. So I'm going to add a new equity account. I'm going to call it distributions. And I'm going to, so distributions reduce the amount of equity that you have. And so in this case, it's a minus 32,830.99. So a minus would go in, to make an equity account a minus, you put it in as a debit. So I'm going to put in 32,830.99, and I'm going to go ahead and add entry. And then now we're going to go back into the equity accounts, and we're going to create an account for contributions. So we'll add a new account, and we'll call it contributions. Okay, and now we'll put this as an increase, because whenever you contribute, you're increasing. So now we're going to type 70172.36, add entry, and now you see we have some pretty big numbers here that are off. Now I want you to note that this current year earnings is not an entry that you make. It's an entry that the system automatically calculates. And it is calculated based upon the difference between your earnings and your expenses. So to balance the account over here, because we can't submit and record a journal entry unless debits and credits are balanced, we're going to go through the process of inputting all of this year's income. So we're going to go to the income statement over here on the left-hand side. And now we're going to use the filter tool to set up a January 2023 to December 2023. So I'm going to just change the ending dates here. So now we have January 2023 through December 2023. I'm going to click Apply Filter, and the system is going to come back and create the the income statement. So now what we're going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and scroll this up a little bit. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and input all of the income and expenses. So I'm going to click Income, and then we're going to choose Damage Claims, and it's going to ask us to insert a vehicle. We'll make everything go to unassigned for now, and then we're going to put in a credit amount. Now remember, by looking at that little chart, that credits increase income. So we're going to put in 14,974.33, 14,974.33. We're going to record that. Now we're going to choose the next income, and it's going to be reimbursements. We'll go to unassigned, and it'll be a credit amount of 4358.14. Okay, 4358.14. We'll add that one. And the last income will be to rental income. And it again will be to unassigned. And it'll be a credit of 51029.52. All right, so we'll go ahead and add that entry. And then next, we're going to begin putting in our operating cost of goods sold. Now, the names that you have for yours when we set up the account are not going to necessarily be identical to the names that I have, but let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to go to Expenses, and I'm going to come down and I'm going to look for Brake Repair. Okay, so here we go, Brake Repair. Now, Brake Repair is going to give you the option to assign to a vehicle. So we're going to go unassigned, And expenses, debits increase expenses. So we actually don't have any brake repair, actually, come to think of it. We don't have any depreciation, but we do have fuel. So I'm going to change this to fuel, and then we'll do unassigned. And now we'll put in our fuel amount of 1164.97, 1164.97, and then we'll record that. We'll add that entry. And then we're going to go to our next expense is insurance, so expenses, and we'll come down to insurance, and it'll again go to unassigned, and the amount will be $32.15. Okay, and then we're just going to continue this process. Next one is miscellaneous expenses. So we'll come down and choose miscellaneous expenses, and we're going to go to unassigned. And then the dollar amount will be $1370.84, 1370.84. All right. The next one is oil changes. So we'll do select expenses, oil changes, unassigned. And then the dollar amount for oil changes, $1931.86, 1931.86. All right, add that entry. Then the next one's a big one, vehicle repairs. So I'm going to go to expenses, and we're going to come down here to repairs, unassigned vehicle, dollar amount $31,343.40, $31,343.40. Okay. And then we'll do select expenses, tires. So now we're going to look for tires down here. Okay, and that'll go to unassigned. And the amount of tires is $48.11. And then we're going to go to title and tags, expenses. Then we'll come down and select titles and tags, again to unassigned. And now the amount is $2567.94, $2567.94, and we'll record that. And then the last cost of goods sold, operating this variable expense, is toll road fees. Okay, so we're going to go to expenses and come down to toll road fees, again unassigned. And then this amount is $43.58.14, $43.58.14. All right, come down and add entry. Now you'll see we're still out of balance. So we have some more entries, of course, that we need to make. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down, and lo and behold, we have operating expenses. So your cost of goods sold are your variable expenses, and your operating expenses are the ones that are not directly variable. So let's go ahead and start recording those. So we'll select expense, and then the first thing we'll do is bank fees. Okay, and again an expense, 87.40, debits increase expenses. All right, and then the next expense is insurance general. So we'll come down here to insurance general, and that's 75. And we'll come down and add that one. Then we have memberships and subscriptions. So go to expenses, come down and select memberships and subscriptions, $122.81. And then we'll come down and add that. And then we have office expense or office supplies, so expenses. And then we come down to office supplies. Debit amount is $658.41, $658.41. Add that. And then we'll come down. Oh, maybe I didn't click it. 658.40. Oh, I did click it. Okay, now I'm going to click on expenses, and the next one is repairs general. So we'll come down here to repairs general, and that amount is $524.73, $524.73, and we'll add that one. And then we come down and we select expenses again, shipping and postage. So we'll find shipping and postage, and that dollar amount is $227.64, $227.64. Okay, so we come down and add that one. And then we get the next one, which expense is software and apps. Okay, so software and apps, dollar amount 1552.24, 1552.24. Add that entry. The next one is telephone and internet. Okay, select expenses, come down to telephone and internet. That amount is $438.84, 438.84. Come down and add that one, and we just have two more. So the next one, expenses, is Uber fees. So we'll come down to the end and get Uber fees. These are alphabetized. $354.61, 354.61. And then we'll come up here and get our last one, expense, vehicle tracking. These are the bouncies that I use, so vehicle tracking, and that amount is 1029.99, 1029.99, and then we come down and we add the entry, and now we can look at the total of debits and credits, and they exactly balance. Because they exactly balance, we can now click submit. Now, if they don't exactly balance, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go through the process of comparing the dollar amount of every one of the entries that you've made with the dollar amount on the printout or the other of the previous year to make sure that you did not make a mistake inputting. But since this balances, it says I didn't make a mistake, so I can go ahead and click submit. Now, when I click submit, we now have all of the data. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this in and make it full size. What we're doing now is we're looking at the transaction list. This is a list of all of the transactions that you just input, and you can find this on the left-hand menu under Reports Transaction List. All right, so now let's click on Income Statement, and let's look at our income statement for this time frame. So we're going to have to go ahead and put in the beginning and ending point of the year. So January 1, 2023 through December 31st of 23. And now I can go ahead and click Apply Filter. And what it's going to do is it's going to show us that we have the exact same information that we are supposed to have based upon comparing the two companies, the one I just put in and the previous one. So on the left-hand side, we have the company we're pulling information from. So you can see that total operating income is $70,361.99, $70,361.99. You can see that all of the expenses, everything ends up being exactly the same. So what we've just done is we've created a beginning point. The previous year, end of year detail is now in the system. So we can now proceed to move forward month by month by month, or week by week by week, whatever you want to, and bring the data on the current year up to up to wherever the current time is. So in this case, we have all of 2024 that we can play with, which is what I'm going to do in my next video. So this, the goal of this video was to show you how to input previous year, end of year information. Now this works with previous month, end of month information, or so end of month information. So whatever starting point that you want to use, you can use. Now, if you want to go all the way back to the beginning starting point, when you created your business and when you opened your bank account, we can do that, and I will do that with you on yet another video. But this is the most common point for people to get started. I hope that helps. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you for watching.